Hello everyone, and now welcome to a game, HawK versus FoCuS, this game taking place here on Autumn Leaves 2.0. We have HawK spawning as the blue human player on the top right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, FoCuS all the way on the bottom left-hand side of the map, spawning as the yellow orc. Orc versus human in this 1v1 matchup, and I'm really starting to like Autumn Leaves 2.0. Not that I didn't like it in the past, but I'm liking Autumn Leaves 2.0 as players are finding different ways to play games on this. It often feels like on certain maps that the strategy and the min-max and the optimization has already been felt out. On a map like Autumn Leaves 2.0, where you have this forward expansion that is easy to take, it actually opens things up for some interesting strategies. Do you try and take a forward expansion, expand it towards your opponent, similar to, say, StarCraft 2 and other real-time strategy games, but also expose yourself a little bit more? Some changes to 2.0 that you may not be aware of is this addition of this lake in the back. Previously, it was just all trees, and the Keeper of the Grove and the Blood Mage were able to clear out these trees very easily with Flame Strike, with Inting, or with Summon Treants, and then actually start harassing your gold mine from the back. You could actually open up a little bit, place down some towers, and then try and put pressure off in the front. That has now been fixed, and with that, well, a little bit less cheese play and more of this direct engagement against each other. FoCuS is opening things up with a Farseer, getting up that lone grunt first, and then we'll be following it up with a Headhunter. Meanwhile, off on the north, no surprises here, I don't think. Archmage followed up with some footmen. Arcane Tower will be built to help deal with some of those spirit wolves. Let's go ahead and get straight into the action. 2-minute mark has been reached. Heroes are out onto the battlefield, and the experience game and experience pre-game show, I guess, has begun. All right, going straight after the Forest Troll Berserker, Forest Troll Trappers, making sure to deal damage to those units that, well, absorb more damage first. A little bit of a mistake there by HawK. Could have pulled that Water Elemental back to lose some aggro, and then allow that Water Elemental to dish out damage. And by dishing out that damage, actually save damage from your remaining units. Meanwhile, the Farseer is going to be summoning up some Spirit Wolves. Peasants are now making their way off to the north. Second Water Elemental now being used, but the Archmage, already at level 2, should not be running into mana problems nearly as much. FoCuS actually having a little bit of problems getting stuck in traffic, and now placing down a farm as well. Beautifully done. A couple of peasants lost, but a good exchange overall, as that Scroll of Town Portal does cost 350 gold to replace. Also, the bigger setback, perhaps, is FoCuS has to be playing very close to the vest now. He has to be careful. He cannot venture forth and perhaps use the creep pattern he really wants to, as that Farseer could end up taking far too much damage. Now, that Farseer going after these Forest Troll Berserkers, and it looks like HawK is going to be pressing that advantage by just freely creeping out some other creep camps rather than try and put pressure on FoCuS's Farseer. Reason for that, he has no way of knowing the timing on this Voodoo Lounge. Sometimes when you try and press an advantage you think you have, you suddenly realize you don't have that advantage. Say, for instance, well, the Blade Master, you get him down to, say, sub 50 hit points, and you go and chase him. He wind walks away, or healing salves, wind walks away, and the next time you see him, he's pretty much back up to full health. Farseer, Archmage, are going to go ahead and engage here. Level 2 Water Elemental down here onto the battlefield, and the Berserkers are now trying to focus down some of those low hit point footmen. Meanwhile, damage can stick onto that Farseer since there is no healing salves as of yet. That low hit point footman trying to back up, and both sides doing a great job here trying to minimize losses. This one footman, however, not going to get that lucky. The Spirit Wolves will be diving on in. Are they going to be able to block? No. That 11 to 12 damage, actually enough to finish off that footman there. So a little bit of a lucky break. Archmage, no boots of speed, does have claws of attack, but may not be able to get enough damage off onto that grunt there, as you see that scroll of speed being used in order to escape. All right, Orc Burrows doing a little bit of attacking as well. Archmage unable to catch up there, and instead going to put pressure onto the Voodoo Lounge instead of those Orc Burrows. Nope, now going to go ahead and switch off to those Orc Burrows. Orc Burrows do take full damage from the Water Elementals and the Footmen, as it does have heavy armor. Kind of interesting and odd that being heavily armored or having heavy armor in the game actually means you take full damage from everything and more damage from magic. Not quite sure. I don't know. I would think if you're heavily armored, you would actually take less damage from some things. But Warcraft 3 physics for you. Anyways, coming back around. Farseer going to go ahead and circle, continue to do a little bit of laps here. Meanwhile, the expansion for HawK is already up and running with an Arcane Vault being built. We can see that the tech to Tier 2 has not even started yet, as FoCuS is going to be grabbing up a Tauren Chieftain and also setting up a Bestiary. That Bestiary in a little bit of a weird spot there. Meanwhile, Tauren Chieftain will be fighting alongside that Spirit Lodge here, and perhaps getting in a couple of Shaman. That Tauren Chieftain wants to get to level 2. Very important to gain access to Stomp or Shockwave. Opening things up with Endurance Aura first, though, does boost up the entire Orc army to move faster and hit faster there, as the Farseer does get to level 3. Archmage of HawK, well, trying to rinse and repeat that strategy, put pressure, but the Tauren Chieftain is already out, and this pressure move is going to fall quite a bit short, perhaps just forcing HawK to try and retreat. His window of opportunity to put pressure down during that tech to Tier 2 before that investment really starts to pay off, showing now as we're looking at some critical strikes there. One Dire Wolf quickly getting taken out. Footman now perhaps going to try and go after the Water Elemental. Not quite sure, or the Farseer, not quite sure what these Water Elementals are doing here, as the Tauren Chieftain slowly gets to level 2. Water Elementals trying to put pressure onto the Orc Burrows, but those reinforced defenses will be up in time, as we see Purges now being placed down by that Shaman, getting in some easy, burst damage on those summoned units. FoCuS looking absolutely strong, as he's going to continue on that earlier momentum with those higher tier units. Those Raiders and those Shaman should be able to put easy pressure onto this tier 1 army, as the Water Elementals were really the main source of damage. Blacksmith trying to be built here to act as a little bit of a buffer, but that is quickly going to get taken down. Another Blacksmith trying to be placed down, and that could just get poked apart as well. It is buying time, even though it is costing quite a bit, as we see Militia now being called off from the north. Low hit point peasants trying to retreat away from those Spirit Wolves, not working out all too well either. But there are a plenty of workers by HawK, 22 workers, in order to get this strategy going. A bunch of low hit point footmen in the back as well. Scroll of Regeneration going to be used. Water Elemental now being dropped down here. But FoCuS is not going to be letting off the gas at all. All right, continuing all of this pressure here. Footman perhaps going to try and retreat back. No, just diving on in. One life for Lordaeron. And he freely gave it there as he gets taken down. 42 supply army compared to FoCuS is 44, but FoCuS has nearly a 50 or more than a 50% larger army. 32 supply compared now just to 25, as we are looking at a Mountain King getting trained up. All right, unless we see some well-timed creep jacks, I think FoCuS and those higher level heroes are just going to become a bit too much. Another Water Elemental getting purged down again. The Archmage, even with triple Circlets of Nobility, a lot of extra bonus stats is not really going to be enough to stop this army. Perhaps if a grunt or two falls here, are we going to see a death of a headhunter? No, we are not. Footman trying to take down this Great Hall here, perhaps remove that economic advantage. There's another purge, as the Archmage could easily focus down a low hit point grunt. That grunt is down to 74 hit points, and instead putting pressure, trying to make sure that the Expo doesn't get up. All right, making sure that Expo doesn't get up was critical, but at the same time, you also want to deal lasting damage and get experience onto that Archmage to get to level 4. Mountain King is now out here on the battlefield, 47 supply army compared to 45, as the units are going to be retreating back. Kodo Beast is chomping on a footman, as the Archmage is going to turn back around, perhaps try and drop some water elementals. No, and this is the last thing you want to see as a player in Warcraft 3, retreating back home after trying to chase down your opponent only with your hero. All those other units were lost. However, the army of HawK is still looking strong. We can see the Mountain King is creeping away with a couple of riflemen. I don't see the Arcane Sanctum. Oh, no, dual Arcane Sanctums over here at the Expo. As HawK's strategy to build this outpost, being tested now. Mountain King coming back around. We could be looking at some shockwave damage as well. Level 4 now on the Farseer, and the Tauren Chieftain not actually doing any shockwave damage yet. Guard Tower out of range. Arcane Tower in position as one Arcane Sanctum looks to fall. That is going to be the Adept training. That is going to fall there. We are getting up a couple of priests. There is a Stormbolt onto a Grunt now. Can the Mountain King perhaps get some lasting damage, getting a couple more hits on some other units? That is a big question there. HawK also going for a second Arcane Sanctum again, and that is a bit curious for me. A lot of human players have now gone into the single Arcane Sanctum strategy, as you really don't need dual Arcane Sanctums unless you're going to be also transitioning into Spellbreakers. You could try and stretch it out a little bit more, get some Priests and Sorceresses, 3 of each, and get that Adept training going. But HawK may not get the returns that he really wants on this second Arcane Sanctum, especially as, well, he couldn't be investing that gold in other places, perhaps weapons upgrades on the Blacksmith. 47 supply, 48 supply now. More workers still being trained up. HawK staying at that 22, 23 worker count. And that, means that you're going to have a smaller army while staying in low upkeep, or no upkeep. Expo of FoCuS now getting, nearing completion here. Some skeletal minions. Did we see a Book of the Dead or Black Arrows? It looks like it was a Book of the Dead there. The Arcane Vault quickly gets taken down. There goes a Shockwave. Tauren Chieftain now up to level 4. Level 2 Endurance or a Lightning Shield coupled with Chain Lightning, really racking up quite a bit of damage. And HawK now down to 19 workers as Peasant after Peasant taking quite a bit of damage. All right, Rifleman's looking to focus down an easy Shaman. That will give level 4 to the Archmage. But momentum still not on HawK's side yet. HawK, if he's able to perhaps Stormbolt and pick off another 2 units in this retreat, could be enough. But FoCuS's army just seems too strong. All right, so what are HawK's options to follow up? FoCuS has been doing a good job just constantly pressuring this Expo, and by constantly pressuring this Expo, forcing HawK to use much of the bonus gold that he's got to try and constantly rebuild. A new Arcane Vault being built in the back here, and this outpost, as many outposts are difficult to defend. Mountain King sitting at level 2, going to be going after this Kobold Taskmaster creep camp, perhaps try and get to level 3. And at level 3, does open up level 2 Thunderclap or level 2 Stormbolt, obviously. We'll see which one he prefers or values here, as the Archmage going to pick up a Crystal Ball. Now, the Archmage does have some powerful items, consumable items, alongside that Mountain King. Mountain King with that triple circlet of nobility, is it going to be enough as the Raiders are now diving on in? Shockwave, level 2 Shockwave followed by Chain Lightning. There you are, that Chain Wave strategy taking down all of the peasants, and HawK still back up to 20 workers again. What is going on here? Mountain King forced to try and get to level 3 first to get that level 2 Thunderclap to even challenge the level 2 Shockwave and level 2 Chain Lightning of FoCuS. FoCuS, however, very close to now level 3 Chain Lightning, and that could just continue to build up more and more. There's that Thunderclap hitting over a half dozen units trying to fight their way through. Mountain King still has plenty of mana. Is he going to continue to finish off units? There's a Shockwave through now. Mountain King, perhaps he's going to land another Thunderclap there, trying to slow things down. Scroll of Healing to try and counteract those Shockwaves, and that so far seems to be working, as the Mountain King still has mana for perhaps another Thunderclap again. All right, there's another Thunderclap again, hitting not as many units this time around, as the Raiders have found their way to the backline on those Sorceresses, and Priest. Mountain King, well, still trying to get in some Thunderclaps. Here we are, 62 supply compared to 64, and that is a monster number of Thunderclaps and a whole bunch of low hit point units on FoCuS. FoCuS trying to fight its way back here. Mountain King now using that potion of mana. Is he going to go for a Stormbolt? Yes, onto the Tauren Chieftain. That may not have been the best call, as Rifleman and other units are going to try and retreat back here. A bunch of low hit point grunts, and just trying to take down all of these units here could give level 4 to the Mountain King here in just a moment. Just shy now, as units are still trying to retreat back. We do see level 3, level 3 Shadow Wolves instead of the level 3 Chain Lightning, as the Mountain King finally out of mana after all this time. There's level 4 on the Mountain King now. There's a little bit of Dispel, and FoCuS, who I thought had a commanding lead, suddenly falls behind in the supply category. That Mountain King with +6 intelligence, having a decent amount of mana, over 300 at that point in stage, and was capped out on mana, coupled with that potion of mana, well, was able to eat through those hit points slowly but surely. That Mountain King was a bit out of position, I will say, for a moment here. Are we going to perhaps look at the Crystal Ball? No Crystal Ball use here, as the Shadow Wolves are going to just go to town across all of these peasants. If that Tauren Chieftain gets up to level 5, that is going to be absolutely huge, as, well, the Arcane Vault, Arcane Sentry, Magic Sentry now needs to get researched. All right, back off to the north here. Tauren Chieftain does get to level 5. Level 3 Shockwave is on the table. And is that enough to turn the tide again? All right, Arcane Sentry nearly done, but that Scout Tower is not going to be done upgrading to an Arcane Tower to actually deal damage just quite yet, as FoCuS's Expo is, well, pretty much completely wide open. Archmage could be dropping in some more Water Elementals. FoCuS now coming in from the far side. Are we going to see a Shockwave? Yeah, that Chain Lightning Shockwave. Scroll of Healing quickly being used to try and make up some of that damage, as the units are heading back and forth here. Tauren Chieftain could try and land another Shockwave here, but he's a little bit too far from all of the action. There's a Chain Lightning, but level 2 Chain Lightning not going to be dealing the damage. There's that level 3 Shockwave, and there goes a whole bunch of casters in the back position. 48 supply compared to 54. Tauren Chieftain trying to get away, unable to get the Stormbolt off, as the Tauren Chieftain escapes away at 25 hit points. All right, both sides fighting their way through. There's some more Thunderclap. Farseer gets up to level 6. Thunderclap, is it going to be enough? It is not the level 3 variety, as we see that level is so important. Archmage does drop level 3 Water Elementals now. We are looking at a bunch of low hit point grunts and raiders. Mountain King out of mana, really needs to get more mana from that Archmage's Brilliance Aura, as we are looking at more summons again. All right, what's going to come back across? Tauren Chieftain could get another big Shockwave, and it does. 3 Riflemen gone right there. And what a beautiful, beautiful game by HawK and FoCuS. HawK's late game rally, not enough, as FoCuS was able to, well, use the momentum from that earlier position, getting up to level 5 on FoCuS's Tauren Chieftain. And even though it was level 3 Shadow Wolves, the Shadow Wolves did a great job being able to hide and then attack, cause some problem with those peasants, giving just enough experience to get FoCuS's Tauren Chieftain to level 5. And that just blew the game wide open. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below. It feels like a short but sweet, spot-on game on why WarCraft 3 is great. Hope you guys see me next time.